the millions, and we will be. Because it starts right here.
Guilty!
Welcome to our regular weekly episode of Naptown People's Radio. I'm your host, Danny Abdullah, here with my comrade and co-host,
Derek Ford.
I hope you enjoyed Monday's special episode as much as I did, and that you were also able to catch Haki Shakur's speech on the Republic of New Africa and Cecilia Gomez's speech on the Haitian Revolution on the Liberation Center's YouTube page. Because for us, every month is a month to fight for the freedom of our comrades and fellow workers behind bars, and for all oppressed people. So we want to take those lessons forward as we amplify the struggle today. So, as always, we're here to guide you through the pressing issues facing Indianapolis from the perspective of the people, not the oppressors. And as organizers involved in these issues, we're not just talking about the news, we're making it happen. So on today's episode, we interviewed Stuart Mora. Mora is a volunteer community organizer, mainly in the immigration justice movement. It was such a pleasure to meet with Stuart and rap about how we can get involved in protecting our neighborhoods and our neighbors in general. But before we get into it with Stuart, let's break it down with Derek in the Naptown Breakdown. What's happening in Naptown this week, Derek?
Well, I'm going to start a little bit at the federal level. Of course, the Trump administration has cut funding to the National Institutes of Health, which has a trickle-down effect on every state. And Indiana immediately lost $6.8 million and 29 jobs from this cut. The projected loss is $128 million and 554 jobs for 2026. So research in aging, cancer, infectious diseases will be hit the hardest. The Hogsett administration proposed a record-breaking $1.7 billion budget for 2026, despite an estimated loss of $43 million in property taxes. And the reduction in property taxes can be seen as a relief to some homeowners, but the big cuts to make this inflated budget happen will be really for the government departments that we need, except for the fire department, which we do need, and DPW. The main problem is that the policing agencies are exempt from these cuts. So what's the bottom line for the proposed budget from Hogsett? He promised a balanced plan, investing in public safety, infrastructure, and quality of life without raising taxes. So on the surface, it's a story of steady stewardship. Of course, he doesn't want to go up there and say anything else. But, when we look closer to where the money comes from and, more importantly, where it's going, it shows us the city's priorities and who the government ultimately serves. So the majority of our tax dollars are going to be funding, guess what? The cops and the prison system.
Of course.
The single biggest slice of the budget pie, a staggering 41%, is dedicated to quote-unquote public safety, which covers the IMPD and the fire department and the Office of Public Health and Safety. Right behind it, another 20% of the entire city and county budget is allocated to, quote, criminal justice services, end quote, which includes the sheriff's office, the courts, the prosecutor, and public defenders. Of course, we support public defenders. But added together, for every dollar our city and county government spends, 61 cents goes to policing, courts, and jails, which is not necessarily a surprise. The city's approach, however, to public safety has to be more than police. Actually, it has to not include the police, because the idea of police might make people feel safe, but the reality is the opposite. Case in point, last Thursday, August 28th, former IMPD officer Myron Howard was found not guilty of rape, criminal confinement, and official misconduct after he raped a woman who had just suffered domestic violence. So he had just arrested her boyfriend and then immediately went back to the woman's house, conveniently turning off his body camera, although GPS data shows that he was there. Howard admitted to having sex with the victim, and raping her, in other words, just minutes after arresting her boyfriend for domestic battery. Now, Howard's defense was that he was in the area. I mean, just get this. His defense was that he went back to the area because during the arrest, he saw another woman across the street who he found attractive. Yes, that is right. That was his defense. And then he claims that he went back to have sex to try to rape, I guess, another woman. But then he says that he found the victim on her front porch naked, who invited him in for consensual sex. So that's
so wild. That's such a wild story. Okay.
And I'm not even done. Because he's not off the hook yet. He still faces charges from raping a woman in the back of his police cruiser while giving her a ride home in August of 2023. Of course, the way it's framed is having sex with her in the back of his police car in exchange for a ride home. And that hearing is scheduled for September 25th. And we wonder why so many women don't report sexual assault or domestic violence to the police, and not just adult women. On August 24th, sheriffs in Irvington handcuffed a 13-year-old black girl for playing outside with her friends around 3 p.m. Now, they didn't arrest her. They let her go. But, this is obviously a traumatizing experience for her and the entire family. It makes it hard for her to go to school now. And this comes just weeks after our local lawmakers passed a bill criminalizing minors and their parents for being outside in public. And even if the kids were fighting, right? I mean, they're kids. You get in a little scuffle. That's not, a crime. Mm-hmm. And the justification for criminalizing children and, parents, right, for letting their children be outside in public past, 7 p.m. or 9 p.m. was, Chief Bailey was immediately after the July 4th incident, like, look, we're not parents, right? Parents, you got to do your job. But this shows that, they see everyday childhood activities as criminal activities, that they see themselves as parents who are, who like handcuff and shoot children, basically, and harass them. And so, they see everyday childhood activities as criminal acts, depending, of course, on one's class and racial status. Now, I think I'm going to end it there. I mean, there's a couple more things I wanted to talk about in terms of the redistricting controversy, because the African Union just, made a proposal to adopt an accurate map of the world that represents Africa accurately. But I think I'm going to leave it there because that's plenty enough.
Yeah, no, that's a lot, right? We got a serial rapist out on the loose, who we are paying apparently to rape people, because I'm assuming he probably had his uniform on also while this was happening. You're raping people in the back of your cruiser, which we pay for. Probably
selling. Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure he didn't have time to go back and clock out.
No, right? Like, you were doing these things while you were supposed to be, quote unquote, protecting and serving the community, and instead you were raping women who have, I'm not supposed to cuss on here, but like had just been in a domestic dispute with her boyfriend and allegedly was out on her front step naked. That's so wild. That sounds so far-fetched.
And his defense is that he went back because while he was arresting this man for domestic battery, he was at the same time eyeing a woman across the street to go back and then hit on her.
Right.
Like,
do your job.
How is that a defense?
Do your job. And like,
no, don't do your job, because that is your job.
You're right. But like, peeping somebody across the way when you're supposed to be arresting someone who is abusing someone, and then you come back to, I don't know, I'm going to assume rape that person.
We don't,
right? Because apparently you're a serial rapist. But also, like, hot take, but like, somebody being naked doesn't mean that they want to be raped. Hot take. But
yeah. And also, the defense was like, yep, she invited him in for consensual sex, which, I mean, basically, like, this man arrested her boyfriend so that he could come back and rape her. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And he got off on the charges, and he faces other charges. So, maybe the community should mobilize for the next hearing. on September 25th to make sure that this guy goes where he belongs.
Back where you put so many people who probably did or did not deserve to be there, by the way.
Exactly.
And then to go to the 13-year-old, right? Like, just like you said, we are having our children criminalized in this city left and right for being children, right? Like, children argue and fight, and like they're supposed to do that. They have to figure that out now so that they don't become adults who are doing wild things, right? Like, we want our children to like figure it out.
Make mistakes.
Absolutely.
How do you grow up? Like,
Absolutely.
But make mistakes.
And like little black kids, little brown kids, poor white kids do not have the opportunity to make these mistakes.
No.
They don't get the chance to make these mistakes without being put in handcuffs.
Yeah. I mean, it's unbelievable. If you think about how many... So I am 40 years old. Yes, 40 years old. And so... I don't know if you want to. How old are you? You're young.
33.
You're 33. Okay, so you might not. Before your time. No, I'm just kidding. But think back to like when you were a kid, and stupid things that you did, right? Okay, I remember like running track or like I mean I was terrible at sports, but running, and one of my friends like mooned somebody, right?
Oh my God.
Not cool, right? Mm-hmm. He got sent to the principal's office, got, detention or suspension or whatever. Mm-hmm. But now he would be placed on a sexual offender registry. Like 30% of people on sex offender registries would started to track homosexuals. Like that's why they started it. Mm-hmm. Like 30% of the people on there are for quote unquote crimes they committed while they were children. So like, a 13-year-old having sex with their 12-year-old boyfriend. Mm-hmm. It's unbelievable.
Absolutely.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. Or, they would be expelled today, right? Like, again, the people talk about the school to prison pipeline and, like, kids are not, I think we talked about this on the last episode, but, like, kids are not set up to even make it to college, right?
It's like, it's not a school to prison pipeline. It's actually like the school is a prison.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You don't get sent to the principal's office. You get handcuffed and arrested.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And don't let there be a kid who has trauma or a kid who has some kind of neurodivergence or something going on with them that makes them not like cookie cutter and perfect, which, by the way, none of us are. But.
God forbid. I mean, unless they say like the U.S. government killed Martin Luther King Jr.
that kid is cookie cutter and perfect. Actually, shout out to that kid, whoever that child is. The United States did kill Dr. Martin Luther King.
That shows, exactly. And that shows that there is hope in the youth.
Absolutely.
And we don't have to take this, and we will fight back.
Absolutely. But yeah, no, our kids are set up to not be kids. And women are set up to, you can't even call the police when you're being abused because the cops are going to come back to abuse you.
Tragic.
All right. That is it for our Naptown Breakdown. We are going to be right back with Stuart Mora. So stay tuned.
And we promise it'll be more uplifting.
It will be. It totally will be. And we're back with Naptown People's Radio. I am here with Stuart Mora. Stuart is a volunteer community organizer and works with Munoz Legal for Immigration and Criminal Defense. Every day, Stuart is speaking with detained immigrants and their families. And we are so honored to have Stuart here on Naptown People's Radio.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. Do you want to introduce yourself a little bit? I know I kind of gave a rundown, but you want to tell the people like who you are, anything I missed?
Well, first and foremost, I'm helping to organize an action down at Representative Shreve's office on Sunday, this Sunday, September 7th at 5:30 p.m. For those who don't know, Camp Atterbury is in the middle of Representative Shreve's district. They're trying to open, the federal government's trying to open a concentration camp Atterbury, for immigrants, and I think we can all assume anybody who's a perceived enemy of the administration.
Absolutely. Adderschwitz, I think, is one of the episode titles we had recently. Yeah. So okay, let's get into it. Tell
Absolutely.
me why is it important for listeners, for people to care about what is happening
Well, I think anybody who lives in Indianapolis knows that there's so many immigrant families all over our city. So whether you work in a school or you work at a doctor's office, you go to a grocery store, you're going to interact with people who are, frankly, terrified, right? For me, it's people who are friends of mine or family members of friends, and it's terrifying. Absolutely. To see the images of masked government agents who refuse to identify themselves coming in and kidnapping people. And when we talk about one person being detained, that one person being detained has a family. And it impacts the entire family, including many people who are legal permanent residents, who are U.S. citizens. And I always, as a father of 2 young children, I always think about the children that are involved. Absolutely. And how traumatic that must be to have your parent or your guardian taken away and not knowing what's going on with them.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, same. I'm a trauma therapist. I also have children, and just as a human being, thinking about what is happening to these individuals and the trauma that they're experiencing. But you're right. It's a ripple effect, right? It affects not just them. It affects their family. It affects people they work with. It affects our community, right? Absolutely. Yeah.
I was talking to my, I attend First Friends. It's a Quaker church on the north side. And I was talking to my pastor, and he was talking about his wife, who's I forget if she teaches first grade or kindergarten, young children. And she was talking about her own children and how she feels the anxiety of, I think, somebody who had a parent who was deported, and just the anxiety that those children feel because they know what's going on.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. My son, hopefully you don't hear him screaming in the background. He's here. But there was an episode where he was screaming in the background. Hopefully that doesn't happen today.
That's okay. He's always welcome here.
Always. But his best friend's dad is here on asylum, which the country he's from, they don't count it as asylum anymore, which is wild to me. But yeah, that's definitely something that is affecting my family, my loved ones as well. And even if it wasn't affecting me directly, right, quote unquote directly, it's something that we should all care about, right? It's just as
I think that, unfortunately, I truly believe that even if you're not an immigrant, that's just the most vulnerable population that this administration has decided to go after, and that they're already attacking our trans siblings. They're clearly coming after same-sex marriage. It appears every person of color who was in the administration has now been fired. This is an attack on all of us. Absolutely. And if we don't fight back now, it's not getting better; it's getting worse.
Yeah, we were talking a little bit about disability just before we started recording, and right, they're trying to roll back ADA, right, which is something that our people fought for not that long ago. There was in 1990.
That's right.
When we got the ADA, which everybody benefits from the ADA, right? And we said Auschwitz, we said it like it's a concentration camp.
It's absolutely a concentration camp.
Yeah, which is something that has happened throughout history, and not just to Jewish people, right? They did it to Native Americans. They did it to Japanese people. They did it to people who have disabilities. They continue to utilize this same terror, right? This terroristic tactic against our people over and over again. So everybody needs to be there Sunday.
Yeah.
Sunday.
Can I back up a little bit?
Absolutely.
I'd love to give a little context.
Absolutely.
So, I was a union organizer for 13 years.
Okay.
I took a step back due to a mental health crisis during the pandemic. I've been working with Munoz Legal. We do immigration and criminal defense. We're one of the only firms that does both, since the two intersect often. And I've been working there for a few years. And I saw what happened with Kilmar Abrego Garcia. And for me, because I understood the immigration context of how blatantly illegal it was that they were picking him up and deporting him back to the one country he was ordered not to be deported back to, it was immediately, in my mind, a constitutional crisis. And I just said, I told my wife very clearly, if we're going to raise our children with the values that we say we want to raise them with, they're 7 and 10 right now. We can't do nothing.
Absolutely.
We can't see what is happening and do nothing. And so the organizing has really evolved out of that. We had actions in April and May, and then we had 3 coordinated actions at congressional offices, Mishawaka, Noblesville, and Carmel on July 20th. And, it's just a group of volunteers who have gotten together. And, we've had a couple hundred people take action. We've had tons of press. I think a part of this, to be frank, is an information war. Like, if we're not telling the story, there is another story that's being told about how criminals and gang members have to be, forcefully, deported from the country. That's not really what is happening right now. And so when we gathered after our action on July 20th, the overwhelming sentiment amongst our volunteer team was, they're opening a concentration camp here in our state. That has to be the next action.
Absolutely.
And so again, next Sunday, everyone is welcome. It's a big public space down in Greenwood, 5:30 p.m. And I come at this. I was raised Christian. I attend a Quaker church. It's about, how do we build a loving community?
Absolutely.
And rounding people up without due process, terrorizing their families, traumatizing their children. There's nothing loving about that.
Absolutely. And honestly, if you don't know anything about Quakers, like, Quakers have been showing up for generations.
For generations, that's true.
For generations
That's
have been
true.
showing up.
You will see a lot of Quakers next Sunday. That's true.
No,
That's
amazing.
They do what they say they believe. That's
Absolutely.
true.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I'm not going to get into all the politics right now on, like, Christianity and my views, but, like, Quakers, talk the talk and walk the walk for sure.
Amen.
So, yeah. So who all is organizing this event next Sunday? Sorry.
When I first started organizing, I didn't have an organization that I was working with. I just started calling people, who I knew would care and were thinking about these things. At this point, it's Indivisible Central Indiana, IUYA, which is the Indiana Undocumented Youth Alliance, the Indiana State AFL-CIO, and the Progressive Democrats are the 4 groups that have co-sponsored. But, we've continued to build relationships. We're thinking about this in the long haul. We're very clear. This isn't just about what is going on with ICE and our immigrant friends, families, and neighbors. It's also, we have to push back against the rise of authoritarianism in our country, or we'll be living in a very different country in the next couple of years.
Absolutely. I mean, and already, my son was born in 2019, which probably everyone who's listening to this remembers 2020, right? Like, the pandemic hit, and then the world shut down, and it was a very different time. But even what happened, even the world and how it looked in 2020 and 2019 is very vastly different from how
Agreed.
things are right now. And I know a lot of people are scared, rightfully so. But I think exactly what you just said. You called people. You weren't with an organization, but you called people who you knew cared.
Yep.
Right. And there is power in numbers, right? Like, when we're together, that is how we make a difference.
I've had a lot of conversations with people over the last several months, and I know that folks who share our values often feel overwhelmed by what is happening. And I try to keep reminding people, we're going to do it with love. They're not going to take our joy. They're not going to take our hope. We're going to fight back. And there's no perfect way.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
A movement looks like so many different things happening at once. It's not, this is the right action or that's the right strategy. It's, we all have to come together. We have to come together
Absolutely.
to fight for our own community.
Yeah. And coalition, which is kind of what it sounds like is happening next Sunday. This is multiple different groups coming together
absolutely.
for this event. And coalition work can be messy. I've definitely been in some coalitions.
Me too.
And it can be messy, but, like, at the end of the day, this is what we're all fighting for. This is what we have come together for. What has been your experience? What has been your experience doing this work and organizing, not just for this event, but just organizing in general?
I think coalition work can be messy, and I have been a part of it being messy. Sometimes you can get, I think we all can get stuck on, I have the right idea, I have the right plan.
For sure, yeah.
And I've really, really been preaching the last few months, this is not the time to fight over who has the right ism or the right plan. It's, if you see what is happening and you know that it's an attack on you and people you love, we have to come together.
Absolutely.
And I think it's just that simple.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, there's an old adage in organizing, action is oxygen. And bringing people together to take action. I can't tell you the number of people who have said something along the lines of, I'm just glad I'm here because I felt like I was doing something today. I felt like we did something today.
Absolutely.
Right? I'm not staring at a screen, worrying. I'm out. Like, we got to do things.
Absolutely.
And so, you know, if anyone hears this who's feeling that way, come out, be a part of the action.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
Maybe you want to do more. Maybe it's just that day. But come out. It's going to be we're going to do this joyfully. We're going to have music. We're going to have banners. We're going to do some yelling. You know, I think my wife's going to do glitter tattoos for the kids.
Oh my gosh.
There's a park down the street. If you got kids, come out, come to the action, go down to the park. Like, this is about building community. This isn't just about what we're mad about. It's about building something beautiful.
Absolutely. Because again, there's power in numbers, right?
Amen.
And
we know we're going to have press.
Yeah.
We know the press is going to go to Representative Shreve and say, what do you think about the building of a concentration camp in your district? That's the conversation we want to have. Yeah. We want him to have to answer that question because you know what? Nobody actually supports a concentration camp opening in their neighborhood. It's not right. We all know it's not right. I don't care if you voted for Donald Trump or not. We know rounding up people without due process to then stick them in a place where they're going to be abused and tortured, and it is torture. You know why? Because if you get locked up and you don't know when your court date is or what is going to happen to you, and you sit there for months, yeah, absolutely. It absolutely happens right now. People are left with the lights on 24 hours a day, maybe one meal a day, and you think it's not going to get worse when they round up thousands of people at a time? It's going to get worse.
Absolutely.
And people don't actually want that. Yeah. I don't believe that Americans want that at all.
No, I don't think Americans do want that. I think the media wants us to think that Americans want this, but there's so many more of us who hate this, right? Who are not for the rounding up and the kidnapping of our neighbors, of our friends, of our loved ones. Absolutely. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And that's part of the reason why we have Naptown People's Radio, right? This is the people's radio station. This is for the people so that people just like you, people who are normal, everyday workers in this city can speak and like, this is what I'm doing and this is what I care about, right? I want to point out because people can't see, listeners can't see, like I'm going to assume are white, and there has been so much like, how do I say this in the most nice way? There's, I'm glad Derek's not here because he would probably say I'm not nice. But
say it however you want to say it. But, I'm a white Midwest dad. Grew up in Michigan, live in Indiana. I got 2 little kids at home.
Very Midwestern. But there's been a conversation of where when I first started organizing, I was in a lot of liberal spaces, and I don't mean that in necessarily a bad way, but I mean that in a like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry that I'm white. And like that's not what the problem is. The problem is not that you're white. The problem is when people want to like sit and not help or want to kind of victimize themselves. And there has been a question, especially since like 2020, what are white people's role in the movement? Or, you know, white people, we don't want to hear your voices. And here in the party, we feel like, yeah, absolutely. There is a power dynamic, and we want to elevate people of color's voices. But it's also important for white people to get out there and do the work as well, right? It's also important for white people to, you don't have to pay for the sins of, you know, your forefathers or whatever. You just got to pay for your own sins. But
I like that.
but like, how has this been for you? Being this is a very loaded question. So if we
you're fine. Go ahead.
But like, how has this been for you, organizing and being in this space and making sure that your voice is heard, of course, but like to elevate the voices of those who are in these concentration camps, those who are being kidnapped, those who are having their voices snatched away from them? Like, how has this been for you?
Yeah, that's a good question. I was a union organizer with Unite Here, which is food service and hospitality workers. So the vast majority of our membership was people of color, lots of immigrants. And I was the president of a union where, it was a minority white people. So I have certainly struggled with that broader question of my place in the movement. I think now I'm a little bit older. I have kids. I'm very comfortable knowing what my values are and what I believe. And the most important thing when you're organizing is listening. Mm-hmm. It's listening and listening and listening some more. Mm-hmm. Because diverse groups of people can come to like, hey, this is what we want to do together if they're listening to it, if we're all listening to each other. Mm-hmm. And I think sort of stepping back into organizing, it's just so obvious to me because of the work I do every day that what is happening is wrong. Mm-hmm. So that's just, we got to do something to try to fight against what is wrong. And I've just approached it with, what does everybody think? What are you hearing? What are you thinking? What kind of action do you want to do? And then you arrive there. I mean, I do have a lot of organizing experience. So like, I know what I bring to the table. Yeah. But a part of that is like, we're going to avoid the toxicity and we're going to listen to each other and we're going to be loving. And we don't know if we're going to win, but we know what we're doing is winning in the sense of like, we're going to take loving action to build community. Mm-hmm.
I mean, I would argue against, I think we are going to win, right? Like it might not be next Sunday, right? It might not be the next day, but like, again, when the people come together, that's already a win, right? That's already something that, the system doesn't want us to do. The system wants to continue to divide us. If it's not, my people, if it's not Black people are the problem, it's immigrants are the problem. If it's not, immigrants are the problem, it's poor white people are the problem, right? It's always somebody is the problem. There's always a scapegoat. And in reality, like, internationalism is so important to me. So important to the party, but like all of our struggles are the same, like if I'm struggling, you're struggling. If people over in Palestine are struggling, that also affects us over here, right? If a disabled person, I'm also disabled, but like if a disabled person is struggling, then that affects all of us, right? Like all of our struggles are so interconnected. And so, yeah, I love that answer that you gave. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you for the question.
Yeah. How can we in Naptown People's Radio, the Party for Socialism and Liberation, how can listeners help?
I'm going to say two things. Mm-hmm. One, come to the action. Sunday, 5:30 p.m., Representative Shreve's office in Greenwood. Two, if you hear this and you say, I also have been really infuriated by watching these masked unidentified government agents snatching people off the street, because I know what that means, or maybe that affects my family. Mm-hmm. I don't know what to do. You can do something. Mm-hmm. Come to the action. Come find me. There's lots of people who are already doing things. None of us are pretending like we have all the answers, but absolutely there's going to be further organizing. This has grown from what it was, which was honestly just a group of my friends, 50 people outside the federal courthouse back in April, to, we had hundreds of people across 3 locations in Indiana. Maybe you have a good idea. Maybe you're just like, hey, how can I help? Step in. I think that's the answer. Is right now is a moment when none of us, if you see what is happening with the rise of fascism in our country and you worry about how that's going to affect you or the people that you love, we don't have the time to wait. We have to step forward and say, what can I join? 5051, the party, Indivisible. There's lots of groups out. Ayuya is a wonderful organization, good friends of mine. Mm-hmm. There's lots of great things to plug into. Do what you can.
Absolutely.
But nobody's asking you to kill yourself.
No, please
Take care
don't do
of yourself,
that.
but also like you can do something.
Yeah.
What can you do?
Absolutely. You can't make a difference if you're not here. So yeah,
Amen.
Please don't kill yourself. Don't do that.
But I mean, also in the sense of like, I burned myself out during the pandemic.
Absolutely. Yep.
And there were real crises in people's lives. I lost track of the number of people I knew who died. Somewhere in the 20s. And it all happened very fast. And you know what? I look back and I think, if I had just taken a little better care of myself, I actually would have been better for my community. And so, it starts by loving yourself.
Absolutely.
But plug in. And if you're not sure what to do, come out next Sunday and come find me. I'll have the mic in my hand and we'll get your number and we'll plug you in. There's always something to do.
Beautiful. Yeah. And that sentiment of it doesn't matter which organization you join, just
Amen.
Join, right?
Yeah.
Go
There's
out,
lots
do the
of
work.
good people doing good organizing right now. That's actually the message I would want people to understand.
And also, like you said, that I'm always, probably because I'm a therapist, but I'm also always talking to my comrades about you have to put your mask on first before you put the mask on others, right? If you are passed out, if you are burnt out, if you are hurting, you are no good to the movement. You are no good to our community if you're not taking care of yourself.
It's okay to step back.
Absolutely.
I also want to shout out some folks doing some great organizing in this city, Live Free Indiana. They're the ones leading the push to have our own sheriff here in Indianapolis, Sheriff Forstall. Sheriff Forstall canceled the U.S. Marshal Service contract that's allowing you to hold ICE detainees in our jail. I'm in that jail every day. You got lots of great people who work for you. I know many of them. What is happening with ICE is wrong. Let's not participate in it. Cancel the contract. If Todd Rokita wants to sue our city or sue your office, let's have that fight rather than making excuses for why we're going to hold ICE detainees right here in our own jail. There's nothing under the law that is making you do that. Stop. Nobody in this city wants you holding ICE detainees. It's wrong. Stop doing it. And shout out to Live Free, Josh Riddick, and the whole crew over there for doing great organizing on that. If any city councilors hear this, tell the sheriff to knock it off.
Beautiful.
That's it.
Thank you.
Live Free is another organization if you want to plug in here in Indianapolis, doing great organizing. Absolutely.
Thank you for that. Yeah. No, I love when we call out people on Naptown People's Radio. Absolutely. It's beautiful. I love it. So we've got event next Sunday. What else is there anything else coming up? Any way that if people listen to this and they're like, oh man, I want to help set up for that. How can people get involved?
Yeah, so if you're an Indianapolis resident, this Wednesday, September 3rd, the Sheriff Forstall will be at the City Council building at 5:30 p.m. Talking about his budget. And there will be an action. There's going to be quite a few people there to tell him exactly. Josh Riddick from Live Free sent me a picture of a spine, of a skeleton, because they're going to go take some skeletons with spines to show Sheriff Forstall what having a spine looks like. But also, one of the things that I've noticed, this is the thought that I was struggling with, is that one of the things that's given me heart and hope is to see other actions pop up. There was an action last week, and I don't really know the people who organized it, but it was down outside of Camp Atterbury. And I was just like, yes, I'm so glad that the action we're planning isn't the only action around this issue.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
I mean, hop on social media. There's lots of things actually going on. There were actions today down at the State House. Every little bit, the media picks it up and reminds everybody else, oh yeah, we don't actually like what's happening right now.
Yeah. No, we comrades were able to organize an action at Camp Atterbury and did a car caravan down there. And
did you go?
I did not go.
What did you hear about it?
So first off, beautiful, great turnout. I remember comrades being like, yeah, the helicopter followed them the whole way down there, which I was like, they're
paying attention.
They are paying attention.
That's right.
That is exactly what we want, is for them to pay attention. So, I got a little, an escort down there the whole time. But it sounds like the people who were inside were listening, that is what we want, right? Of course, we want the, the cops and whatever for them to listen as well. But we're trying to make sure that the people inside here and know that people care. People are out here fighting for you, right? Like it is the people who work in there. I can't even imagine working in there right now. I've had conversations with a lot of folks who work in government, who are veterans, who are active duty. There were some active duty people out there for our action, and it was beautiful to hear active duty National Guards talking about, I don't want to do this. I have no desire to do this, right? It is literally a minute amount of people who have a large amount of money causing a significant amount of pain to people.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Can I turn your question around on you?
Yeah.
What is your wisdom about the majority of people who are watching the news, seeing stuff on social media and feeling overwhelmed, feeling like, oh my God, what is going on in our country? What's your wisdom?
Honestly, I think it's very similar to what you just said, right? Like I personally, I'm not on social media a ton because I can't do social media. I can do small little doses of it, right?
Sure, but people are.
Oh, absolutely.
You know.
I know. There's so many people who come into the Liberation Center and they're like, I got tired of doom scrolling, and like I wanted to come out and do something and make a difference and just be a part of something. Felt like I was making a difference. And I think I'm going to sound probably my age actually, but put your phone down, put your phone down and go outside and see what is happening around you, right? Like there is a lot of doom and gloom happening in the world in general. There is. However, there are people who are trying to make a difference. I was on social media. I just saw like this huge protest in Israel, Israelis protesting the genocide in Gaza. Right?
Yeah.
And again, that small 1% would have you think that, no, like the people in Israel are pro the war and like, no, there's thousands of people protesting this genocide that is happening against Palestinian people. Like there is hope, right? There are people who care. You just got to put your phone down sometimes and like meet those people, have conversations with people. Half the time you're probably talking to a bot online, honestly, anyway. But like get involved, even if and it looks different. It doesn't have to always be a protest or a rally. It can be
Absolutely.
It can be a letter writing campaign. It can be like maybe you're donating money. It doesn't have to look the same for everyone. We all have our different gifts and our own abilities and whatnot. And I just got back from the disability conference and so many people that I got to meet. It was beautiful. But so many people, like a lot of times are bound to their homes unless they call a taxi 2 weeks in advance, right? That's a whole other thing that we'll get to at some point on Naptown People's Radio. But whatever you can do makes a difference. Like nothing is too small.
Yeah, I want to add one other thought because I had a conversation this week, and you may or may not be aware. I guess there was some drama in Indiana, 50-51. That crowd sounds like probably some toxic behavior. I'm not making any excuses for any of that. The reason I'm bringing it up is we do also have to be resilient. And if you find something and you go, that's not really for me, it doesn't mean just walk away from everything.
Absolutely.
There's lots of other organizations
Absolutely.
out there. You can find your place.
Absolutely.
And your way of contributing.
Yeah.
And yet, and I'll share one other thought. There's a guy, Mark, wonderful individual he's Native American. He goes to our Quaker church. And he actually was the one that wanted to remind me that concentration camps didn't start with the Nazis.
Yeah.
The Nazis got the idea from the reservations.
Yes, they
and
did.
He's an
Yes, they
Odawa native. And, he's like, I got bad knees, Stuart. I can barely walk. I barely make it into this church. I'm not going to make it to your action, but you know what? You remind me, I'm going to give you, and he gave me $40. He said, do something. I said, I'm going to do something good with it. He said, oh, I'm not worried. I know you are.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
Everyone can find their little way. And
Absolutely.
And honestly, his encouraging words were even more valuable than the $40.
Right. Honestly, yeah. Sometimes like encouragement can go so far.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I had a cousin who texted me the other day, my cousin Monique, shout out to Monique, was like, she asked me for advice and I couldn't respond because I was doing a million things. And she was like, no, it's fine. You're doing so much. You're out there. You're like the superhero of our family. And I'm a crybaby anyway. And I just like saw that. And I just bawled my eyes out. But like, it got me through the rest of the day.
Sure.
You know, like for sure. It got me through the rest of the week, actually. Any last thoughts, words, feelings, hopes, dreams you want to tell listeners?
You know, people probably often wonder, what do I do if I see ICE? What is that? What do I do with that information? And I wanted to shout out the folks at IUYA. They put together a rapid response phone number. I'm going to give that phone number. I'm going to talk about what they're looking for. 855-589-4639. You can also just look up Respuesta Rápida.
And we can put that in our show notes as well.
Yeah, please do. Yep. Please do. Specifically, it's that because there's so much fear in the community, we want to make sure that people have good information. And so calling and saying what I saw, where I saw it, when I saw it, is really helpful information, because sometimes people think that there must be a raid going on, and it's actually a very specific targeted detention or arrest. Sharing that information really helps for those of us who work in this space and are actually taking calls about, I think somebody got detained or my family member is detained. It's very helpful to have accurate information. And it also helps to calm people who may have heard, oh, there's a raid on my side of town. Well, maybe that's not really what was going on. So please, if you do happen to see ICE out in the community, please call and just report what you saw, okay? You don't have to know everything. That's okay. All information is helpful. And folks who are handling this all the time, can incorporate that into sharing and communicating with the community.
Okay. Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. Just out of curiosity, and for listeners, is there a way for people, if they want to get involved in like helping with that? Is IU looking for that, or are they good?
I'm sure that the answer is yes.
Okay.
And I think that I can get that information. You can put it in the show notes as well.
Okay. Beautiful. I love it. Thank you. All right. We'll be back.
And we're back on Naptown People's Radio. That was an incredible interview. Stuart actually was one of the first organizers I met when he was with Unite Here, and I moved to Indianapolis, and I remember marching in the Pride Parade with him and Unite Here, and it was really generous of them to allow us to march with their contingent, and that must have been 2018. I haven't seen him since, and it's... Now, hearing that interview and getting to talk to him, afterwards, it's so evident why he was so open to us marching with the contingent. And so, yeah, that was really great work, Danny. And thank you again, Stuart, for the work that you've done, the work that you continue to do. We look forward to supporting you. I did want to note that since Black August is over, one of the things that is over is our Black August bundle sales at the Indianapolis Liberation Center store. However, if you go to indyliberationcenter.org/store, you'll see that we have a great deal of sales and a great diversity of merchandise, books, posters. We got Huey P. Newton's To Die for the People. We got a coloring book for the kids out there, From the River to the Sea, about Palestine. We got Coloring Our Socialism for the kids also. We got an array of books, actually the first collection of anarchist writings from Portugal and Brazil, Open Veins of Latin America. If you're those of you who are into Italian Marxist philosophy, we have Lazzarato's most recent book, Video Philosophy, The Womanist Reader, and of course our wide selection of radical education books. So I encourage you all to check that out, and those items are available for pickup, shipping, and some are available for delivery. And to wrap it up, Danny, who gets the Circle City shout out this week?
All right, so this week's Circle City shout out goes to Pastor Janelle Howard. So Janelle Howard is an Indianapolis-based pastor, a community leader, and the driving force behind the Evolve Education Center project. He is the pastor of Hovey Street Church of Christ, and leading Evolve International, which is an organization focused on empowering young Black men and bringing communities together. So Howard is also known for his work in revitalizing Edgar H. Evans, IPS number 11, if you're familiar with that. That's on the east side, which is the best side of town, just throwing that out there. But anyway, a school that has been abandoned, as many of the IPS schools have been abandoned in this city. But Pastor Howard is working to turn it into a space for community. At this time, there's a walking trail and a community garden, but there's more and more to come. I was lucky enough to be able to tour the space and go inside the building and talk to Pastor Howard about all the plans that he has for that building. And it's really just a matter of time and a matter of money, of course, because capitalism. But it's going to be amazing. It's going to be amazing when it comes together. I was able to meet Pastor Howard as part of a coalition to work with families who are victims of IMPD terror. Keep talking about IMPD today. Pastor Howard opened his church doors for the families, other concerned community members, Democrats, and of course, socialists, because I was there, right? Me and my comrades were there. And he did this as a Republican. He did this as a Black pastor because at the end of the day, we all had a goal in mind, and that was to fight for justice for these families and these Black men whose lives were snuffed out by the biggest gang in Naptown, IMPD. Pastor Howard also always shows up for Vernon T. Bateman. We've talked a lot about Vernon on Naptown People's Radio. But not only has Pastor Howard shown up to support Vernon at showcases and just to be a shoulder to cry on, to lean on, but the entire congregation of Hovey Street Church of Christ has signed his petition. So if you go to our website, you can see all of these names, and next to them it says Hovey Street Church of Christ. It's amazing. So not only is Pastor Howard amazing, but apparently all of Hovey Street Church of Christ is amazing as well. So shout out to them as well. Now, of course, Naptown People's Radio is a product of the Indianapolis branch of the Party for Socialism and Liberation, but it will take all kinds to help our people, right? It's not going to just take socialists to lead the revolution. Here at Naptown People's Radio, we don't care what your political affiliation is as long as you are for the people, as long as it's people over profit. Pastor Donnell Howard is a wonderful reminder that solidarity comes in all kinds of forms, and it can even look like a Southern Black Republican man showing up for the people. So shout out to Pastor Howard.
Yeah, shout out to Pastor Howard. And he continues to do that. Open his church. I mean, just last week, actually, we had an event there featuring Jada Traynor and her husband, Jonathan Traynor, who you've heard about on the show. You can read about on our website. Jada was attacked by 4 cops at Eskenazi Hospital, one of whom has resigned, I believe, and moved.
Thank God.
Because he's guilty. And, every time I'm I work a lot with Vernon, honored to be a friend of his. Every time he has an event, Pastor Howard's there. And, I've only met I've met him several times, and I think I had coffee with him and you and Danny and one of our other comrades for maybe 30 minutes in 2023. Mm-hmm. And he remembers me, shakes my hand, and it's just, it's not a coincidence that he supports Vernon because it's the right thing to do, and that his congregation supports Vernon because it shows he's a real leader in our community. So,
Absolutely.
Yeah, again, shout out. Thank you for your work, Pastor Donnell Howard, and all the people at Hovey Street Church. So that's it for this episode of Naptown People's Radio. If you found today's discussion useful, pass it on, leave a comment, and wait for our next episode to drop. You can support us at support.pslindianapolis.org, and as I mentioned, by shopping at the Liberation Center store. If you have a suggestion for the show, email our producer Dakota at producer@naptownpeoplesradio.com. The road ahead is long, but we walk it together. Study with your comrades, build with your community, and always remember, theory without action is paralysis, but action without theory is chaos. Once again, I'm your host, Derek Ford. here with my comrade and co-host,
Danny Abdullah.
Stay dangerous, stay disciplined, and stay in the struggle.
We trying to create a movement. We got a chance to do something in Indiana that brothers like myself been talking about for the last 40 years. When I first became political and we was organized behind the walls in the 80s and 90s, some of the stuff that we doing now with the different programs and the different institutions that we have and things like the Indy Center is things that we used to talk about and dream about doing. And now we doing them. See what I'm saying? We doing it. And we got to keep that momentum going. And it's also generation. So as the next generation come up, you know what I'm saying, it's on y'all to take it to the next level and take it to the next stage.
Salute.